Hello and welcome to another episode of Citadel Guard Adventures. This is Beriathan of the Citadel Guard of Gondor, and we are back right where we left off. You would remember we ended up cutting up the previous episode a little bit earlier because it was quite lengthy. So now we're ready to jump right into the epilogue of the Song of Waves and Wind, and afterwards I will give you my closing thoughts. Alright, what else do we have here? Valor has now changed to level 98. So we're really close to capping that one as well. Alright, we also got the cloak. The essence, I think I'm gonna open that right now. I'm gonna grab the vitality one. Okay.
Our return voyage was not as eventful as the first that brought you to these shores.
Umbar Baharbêl seemed on the very precipice of the cliff's edge when we departed, but all is now as it was. Let us ask some of the people nearby what transpired while we were away. You go to the east and find someone willing to talk near the northern shipyard. The workers there are always willing to spend the day in idle chatter, and the tidings we seek are the furthest thing from trivial. Epilogue. Alright. I hope we can complete this with time to spare to give you my thoughts on the storyline as usual on the channel as well. But to be honest, I'm not entirely sure what to think just yet. I have some thoughts, but not as clear as in previous occasions. How could you not have heard? The kindred of the coins was overthrown and a new kindred raised in its place. The Ghad Imghêda, the Kindred Redeemed. Hármelak and Khôltekh the Temamir were in league with Rothog, allying even with orcs of Mordor. They thought to sell this city to its oppressors, but they counted not on us, the common men and women of Umbar, the shipbuilders and the sailors, the merchants and the scholars, the fishermen and the laborers. The people of Umbar Baharbêl rose up against them, and with one voice we spoke to them. It will not be so, we shouted. The uprising lasted for the better part of the day and into the night. There was bloodshed, for not every soldier at Hármelak's command threw down his weapons, but many saw the rightness of our cause and joined the just throng. Another group opposed us during the uprising, the Earthsworn who have long troubled the peace of the harbor. One of my workers fought against them on the night of the uprising and can't tell you more. Her name is Jinen, and she was on her way to the Gate of Songs north of the city just moments ago. If you hurry, you may find her there. But that is in the past. May the new kindred better serve the interests of the Umbari people, free of the influences of Rothog. Okay, the Gate of the Song. We're gonna use our allegiance port. I hope you left some of Hármelak and Khôltekh for me, because I am not done with them. I refuse to be denied my payback. They ought to get it.
Yes, I fought against the Earthsworn during the uprising. I am not afraid to speak of it.
They have always been the weakened side of the ship's hull, still long at sea, and I am not surprised that it eventually burst. The passage by the city of the Orlachai ships was a hammer blow to that imperfection, and the Earthsworn believed their time had come at last to fully seize control once again. What made them so bold? I cannot say for certain, but whispers tell that many of their number had been secretly leaving the city for a number of weeks, rallied somewhere by the son of Valakor himself. The uprising was short but effective, and a new kindred has been formed to lead Umbar Baharbêl in the days to come. The Ghad Imghêda. They assemble even now at Dâr Rapha up the hill to the east. That is where I am going, for I wish to get a look at them. On these wise counselors we put our hopes. I think I know who are we gonna find there. Jajax. I mean, Jajax's jaw is gonna hit the floor. Or maybe he will get invited as well, who knows. I doubt it. I mean, Jajax said he wanted to be part of it. after Tatháta was dismissed, but I don't think he really means it. I don't think the place of Jajax is leading a city. He wants the power, but he loves the ship so much to be parted from it. So, some familiar faces await you. The Ghad Imghêda of Umbar Baharbêl, Tatháta, Daxamat, Rothog, Biruk. Inîk. Not Biruk, but Inîk. Okay. I expected as much. Mêshka, in place of Gondor. Makes sense. And Eshmun, buddy, you will have to forgive me. But... I mean, I know we have spoken before, but... I don't remember where. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. I mean, I googled it up and I got the LOTRO wiki, but I also got my own video where we met Eshmun, the harbor warden. I do remember you now. What a nice feeling to get your own video recommended.
My brother Dax stands in his new kindred as if he were one of them. That is an oversight soon.
Nope. Sorry to disappoint you, but not.
One thing followed another. I am not sure what happened.
But I am glad to see you safe and alive. At first, I was just trying to carry out your will, telling the people what you told me, but as more and more folk learned that Hármelak and Khôltekh had imprisoned you and my brother, they became angry and angrier. You helped many Umbari and Temamir alike when you came to these shores, Beriathan, and it seems you have made more friends than you know. What began in confusion became a rebellion, Ilmagoli, the rising tide, and then there was no stopping it. Try as I might, I could not convince those who flocked to us that I was not cut out to lead them, and now they have made me part of the Ghad Imghêda. I don't understand how this happened, and yet every step of the way has led me to this moment. Is this how you feel every day, Beriathan? I cannot get used to it. Mêshka, I am so sorry.
Despite the land where he was born, my husband was a man of Umbar.
The wife of such a man must be prepared for the voyage on which he might not return. And I was. Mêshka smiled sadly. That makes it a little easier, Beriathan, but one thing has lightened my sorrow. The people of the city love my husband and they grieve with me. The burden is shared across every word of Umbar Baharbêl and so made less. They asked me to join the Ghad Imghêda and to rule in Belondor's stead. I agreed, and so honor my husband's memory and the love he held for this city and its people.
I wear these burns proudly in memory of Belondor.
I believe he sails now in the company of his friend Cúridwan, and they are not bound by the oceans of the world. I sought not to join the Ghad Imghêda, but the people of the city demanded it. I could not refuse them. They asked for strength, and I possess it. It would be impolite to abandon them. Rothog grins, a frightful sight. Besides, he says, all of my things are here.
The Temamir and the Umbari people must work together, and not at cross purposes.
For that reason, I was chosen to join the Ghad Imghêda. I feel I must apologize for the actions taken by Khôltekh during the past few weeks, Beriathan. I have explained to the Umbari and to my own people that I consider it a failing of my own that I did not determine his true allegiances in time to prevent the tragedies that befell the city. I need not tell you that he acted alone and for his own interests, and it was not with the authority of the Shoreward Stone that he fell in with or Dag or with the orcs of Mordor that were seen upon one of the vessels as it passed the city. I am grateful for the assemblage of Temamir who came to Targushakal and informed me of his treachery during the early hours of the uprising. They will be rewarded. The actions of Khôltekh shamed his people. The Umbari can rest more easily now that I have joined the Ghad Imghêda.
The people called for me to join Ghad Imghêda. As harbor warden, I could not refuse.
I sought not to elevate my position, but with so many of the heirs sworn gone from the city, it would seem my days must be less eventful. This will fill them up. To the Umbari who called for me to join this august body, I made this pledge. to remain vigilant, not only of our enemies but also of our friends and our chosen leaders. It appears to this old sailor that much of the trouble began when Tumuldo sailed to Gondor, and that done at Azagat's command. The old kindred should have sniffed out the Sea Shadow's evil before he could use it to deprive the city of such a hero as Tumuldo, who might have opposed him. Others might be deceived, but not I, and not now, the Ghad Imghêda. So Azagat was willingly sending Tumuldo to his death to get him out of the way? Is that what you are saying? It makes sense.
One mystery remains to be solved.
Oh, do tell.
Hármelak and Khôltekh are missing. None have seen them since the uprising began.
I will find them. The people of the city who chose us to form the Ghad Imghêda expect us to redeem the Kindred of the Coins, to live up to its goals and not succumb to the rot that festered within it from its early founding. I hope it will be so, but that will be made more difficult if we cannot learn what befell Hármelak and Khôltekh during the uprising.
They may have perished during the uprising. What do you think happened to them?
When the people arose. Very good question. I don't know.
None seem to know what befell Hármelak or Khôltekh during the uprising. We may never know.
We will see. You have nothing to fear, my lady. The doors of Dâr Rapha are strong, and the men who guard them are even stronger. None of the shouting throng will get inside.
This way, my lady. I will keep you safe.
Did they escape through the Umbar Baharbêl? It would make a lot of sense.
What is happening out there? Stay back, my lady. Jai! What is happening outside? It is getting unruly.
The area from Dâr Rapha to Vidgavar is packed with residents of the city, a shouting throng. Many in the crowd carry weapons, but for now they have not wielded them against us. I think that will not change, but I cannot say that with certainty. You must stay inside, my lady. It is not safe for you out there. I fear we cannot protect you if you leave the safety of the meeting hall.
Dâr, I need you outside.
You too, Jai. That's
Stay
disappointing.
here, my lady. They will not be by us.
Return to the safety of the main hall. They're gonna flee, right? Khôltekh is here waiting for us. Khôltekh beckons you to the safety of the main hall. Dâr Rapha is not safe for us, Hármelak. I know you trust in your guardsmen to keep the unruly throng at bay, but I have not that faith in them. The city has come alive with anger, and that fury is directed at you, at us. If we remain here, I believe we will be slain.
We should slip the net they have fashioned for us, Hármelak. Let us escape through Umbar Baharbêl.
Yeah. That was obvious. Now that you think of it. But after the Umbar Baharbêl, where did they go? That is the real question.
Through here.
I have some theories, but not that elaborate anyway. Most of the crowd has not yet thought to look for us in Umbar Baharbêl. We can follow these passages to safety.
This way.
Unless...
The way is blocked.
What do people do think about it?
My people installed them. We cannot go this way.
I know someone in the Umbar Baharbêl who would love to have a word with you too. Hold it right there, Hármelak. The Temamir meaningfully groups the haft of his spear and nods in the direction of Khôltekh. I will not use this unless I am commanded to do so, but I will obey the order if it is given. Oh, Khôltekh, you... You demand to know the meaning of this insult. You... Oh... Spare me your indignation, Hármelak. You know what happens to those who gamble with the lives of others without taking care to slant the odds sufficiently in their favor. The Song of Whips and Wind proved very useful, and it may be that Gondor lies in ruin even now. But you failed to manage the people of the city and they have turned upon you. That they think to also hold me accountable for your blunder is unfortunate. But the memories of the people are short. You will be kept safe and unharmed until such time as it is politically advantageous for the Temamir to produce you. The wagons to the north will transport you safely out of the city and beyond reach of the crowd that calls for your head. This is much finer treatment than you would receive from anyone else. Let us say it is in remembrance of the tyrants we overthrew and the kindred we led together, if only for a short time.
Keep your dignity, Hármelak. Walk to the wagons and live. Stay here and die.
Walk to the northern wagons or defy Khôltekh by standing your ground? No, you cannot! You cannot! Ah. I think I'm gonna take this one. But I will see if I can also try the other ending. Provided these are two different endings, I don't know. You are too valuable to kill, Khôltekh says. Carry her, boys. I think, regardless of whether you choose to stand, the outcome is gonna be the same. Khôltekh wouldn't risk killing Hármelak there. He would just subdue her. He has the numbers to do so. Khôltekh, what a sly boy. We really need to get back to him. Hármelak as well, but Khôltekh is top of the list.
I wonder...
It is most likely they were caught and killed by the people they betrayed, but if that is so, where are the bodies? None have come forth to confirm either of their fates, so every suggestion is a supposition only. We can only guess at it. I do not like guessing, Beriathan. I like knowing for certain. Daxamat suddenly speaks up, drawing your attention. Oh, you found them? Please tell me so.
Oh, I had almost forgotten. I have news for you of your friends Corudan and Sigileth.
Oh boy, I had almost forgotten about them too, and now I feel so bad.
They returned to the city a few days ago, and now recover in Dâr Tabib.
You can find this apothecary in the tour gardens of Umbar Baharbêl. Sketches of Azagad, of Belondor, of Hármelak, Khôltekh, Rothog, Tatháta. I think I'm gonna pick Belondor's, but do we really need to take 7 characters through this to get all the sketches? Oh boy. I hope not. I don't have that many characters at level close to level 160. Khôltekh double crossing every single living being up to the last minute is so in character for him, but boy. That was really one last surprise. And again, is not as impactful maybe as some of the other twists that we have gotten in the past, but I only hope that the LOTRO team is not gonna wait another 10 years to tell us what happened with Khôltekh and Hármelak. Don't do another Corudan, please. Because we have received confirmation that Update 48 is gonna end up Misari's storyline with Barshit. And I'm glad we are closing that storyline, but we also need answers for Khôltekh and Hármelak. We need to get our payback. on Khôltekh and Hármelak. I don't think if we find them, we will kill them without reason. Maybe Khôltekh, but because Khôltekh wouldn't go out with a fight. Hármelak maybe would surrender to us, provided, considering how the Temamir would treat her, which I think it's not gonna be good, so she would be glad to be free of them. Many of the beds of Dâr Tabib are occupied by the wounded, and you are not dying on me, Corudan.
My wound is well on its way to healing.
Glad to hear it.
To see you return with victory eases the pain.
I understand Umbar has been saved from Nakasi and Balakad. Has Gondor too escaped from the wrath? You tell Corudan that King Elazar and his soldiers fought bravely against the Song, and Gondor survived. He smiles weakly. Then the last of Sauron's schemes has been frustrated, Beriathan. I am glad for my part in it. You insist that Corudan rest, and you will speak with him when he is more fully healed.
I understand Nakasi is slain and the Song of Waves and Wind defeated. May there now be peace for a time.
I heard tell that 5 ships of the Song survived the passage to Gondor and waged war upon the Harland. More might have joined them had the rapids of the Icorban not proved too perilous. We saw the ruin of many smaller ships dashed upon the rocks as we traveled this way from Suknidar. The builders of the fleet likely intended that to be a one-way voyage, but they had not counted upon Cúridwan's damaging solution or your great haste in opposing those who escaped it. The raft bridge of the Rockway did not last long against the Narjak cannons. When we rejoined Rahazia Diridir, she said her mother intended to see it rebuilt. It would not surprise me to learn she has already done so, but I have gotten ahead of myself. There is more to tell. While you pursued the Song toward Umbar, my brother and I and Cúridwan made our own way westward. Our return journey was not uneventful.
Yes, I will tell you what transpired after you left us.
I know this is already a long episode, but boy, we cannot leave this unfinished.
We walked toward the setting sun, but our progress was slow.
Urush. Okay, Urash Dâr again. The wound Nakasi gave to my brother was deep. It worsened with travel, soaking through our makeshift bandages.
Cúridwan did her best to heal his injuries, but he needed more than she could give him in the wild.
But I'm sure she is very skilled.
Just a moment. I am sorry.
There is nothing for which you must apologize, my brother.
I feel cold.
Is it the chill of the body or of the spirit?
I cannot say for certain.
No, I feel it too.
Let us move within the shelter of the rocks.
Okay, towards the conveniently placed flag, I believe. Ah, this is the banner that will take you to the Dagor Kerlanthyr? Looks like it, but that doesn't make sense. Corudan lost a great deal of blood at Kazukin before we could stem its flow, and that would explain a chill of the body. But for you to feel it as well makes me think there may be another cause, an outward cause. This cult is not natural.
We are not alone, are we? What do you know of this Cúridwan?
I think I know who this is.
I did not want to upset you. A wandering spirit has fastened its attention upon us.
Knew it.
Silirtas?
I cannot say for certain. This spirit might once have been the Quinta Silirtas. But even if it was, her memories may not remain.
Hers may not, but mine do. You say this may not be Silirtas, but if it is, I have to speak to her. I have to tell her I am sorry. Hail the spirit, if spirit it be.
You may not remember, Silirtas, but I do. We only knew each other for a few short days. But in that time, your struggle touched my heart.
This is dangerous, Sigileth!
Every day of our lives is dangerous. Every moment. Silirtas understood that, and she did not run from it.
You cannot know this spirit was once Silirtas! You cannot! Such wrathful spirits have been known to deceive!
When first I came to Shonith, I thought its people were unlike any others I had encountered. Their words and their customs were so different from my own. But I recognized something in Silirtas. Her hopes, her fears, her anger, and her frustrations, they were the same as mine.
I urged you to come with us, Silirtas, to face a great and unknown evil. I thought despite every danger that lay ahead of us, if any need perish, it would be Sigileth of Lothian. I thought I could keep you safe. I am so sorry. When you were slain by Azagath, before the daughter of Utukpur, I fell into despair. I thought I too must die to atone for that terrible deed, for robbing you of the life you might have had. Only the voice of Beriathan tore me out of that darkness. His words made me realize something, dear Silirtas. Every moment of every day for every person in this Middle-earth is a gift. Not of treasure, but of choice. Every point in time gives you the opportunity to decide how you choose to use that moment. You chose to fight the fading of your people. You chose to venture with an elf and a man you had known for less than a day to combat an evil of the elder days. Those choices were yours, Silirtas, and I am inspired by them. I celebrate them. But I have learned there is one more choice you might make, dear one.
Our people have been separated by distance and by time, and we each came to forget. But we were fashioned as one people. There is a place for you, Silirtas, if you wish to seek it out. I hope one day to see you there.
Holy cow. Just gonna take a picture of the crater. Sigileth wipes the tears from her eyes. I have said my part. I believe Silirtas heard my words, but I cannot know for certain.
The storm has passed. Now only a light breeze remains.
Look, there. The animals pass us by.
So too do the birds of the sky.
This is a curious sight. In what direction do these animals travel?
The breeze and the animals and the birds. All these pass westward.
I understand, Silirtas. I will see you there. Rest well until then.
Holy cow, no. I mean, this is a fantastic ending. Not for the reasons most of the previous endings have. It's something else entirely, but
I cannot say with certainty that the spirit was Silirtas, or that she heard my words.
But I believe it was, and she did. I will not hurry to join her, but when at last I come to that place, I hope she and I will reside in comfort and in peace, beyond the loneliness and fear that so troubled Silirtas when she contemplated the unknown days ahead. That is my desire, Beriathan. I cannot know if it will come to pass, but if hope leads us ever onward, the pleasant dream of it will live in my heart until the last of my days arrives. Someone new has come to Dâr Tabib. Khyvar flushes. Oh, I am sorry to interrupt, Beriathan. I did not know you had returned. I have visited our friends every day while Corudan recovers, and they have spoken to me of your adventure in the Fearwater. Please finish your visit. I will speak with you afterward.
That reminds me. My brother collected some papers from the Urash.
While we adventured in the Fearwater, he intended to give them to Khyvar, but the matter has left our minds until now. Look for them among Corudan's belongings and give them to Khyvar. You are gonna... Stupid glitches that prevent me from using this as I should. Yeah, I gotta go out and get back in again, and hopefully that will fix it. I mean, the bag was just there by the bed. You retrieve a sheaf of Corudan's notes from the satchel. Khyvar accepts the papers and briefly studies them. Wait, you say that Corudan found this in an Orthac encampment in the Fearwater? I do not want to pester him with questions, Beriathan, so let us speak of this outside. Khyvar bids farewell to Corudan and Sigileth and departs Dâr Tabib. What do these papers say? You find Khyvar excitedly studying the papers Corudan retrieved from the Orthac of Suknidar. The soldiers would not have understood the meaning of this parchment, Beriathan, but I do. They must have found it among the ruins of Kasukhin while searching for treasure, thinking it unimportant. They kept it unguarded among their belongings, where it went overlooked until it was picked up by Corudan. These are the words of Pinjarion, 24th King of Gondor, who bore the title of Hármelak II, the South Victor. Set down by a trusted retainer in his old age, only days before his death, these words claim that he repented of his long campaign in Harad and wept at the bones of Sharavan, a city he destroyed in the days of his youth. On the return journey of his 10th pilgrimage for the lands he once conquered, he rested at the hilltop fort of Kasukhin and died there peacefully in his sleep. Sigileth tells me the land around that fort is now changed, and what was once a hill is now an island. Might Pinjarion's bones lie there to this day, kept isolated from discovery by the creation of the Fearwater? His story raises complicated emotions in my heart, Beriathan. He is considered very differently in Shagana than he is in Gondor, and it is difficult to reconcile those two perspectives. I am put in mind of the relationship the Umbari must now have with the Kindred of the Coins that preceded the Ghad Imghêda, the Kindred Redeemed. Khyvar emerges from his musings with a nod. The Kindred of the Coins was neither entirely evil nor entirely good, Beriathan. Like Hármelak II, they achieved both lasting good and enduring harm. Those one erase the other? Wiser scholars than I may be able to weigh the value of each, but I cannot. Must we forget the instrumental roles played by Azagath and Akasi in the freeing of Umbar from the heirs of Castamir and the cultists of Sauron? Must we forget Khôltekh's deeds during the Dagor Karlantir, or Hármelak's advice that Darlaja be open to the needs of her people? Must their later crimes strike from the record their earlier heroics and wise governance? Khyvar studies the ground intently. Must my mother's refusal to see me erase the happy years I spent as a child in Ethric, Beriathan? I think it cannot. So we celebrate the good and we work to remedy the bad, and by so doing we mend what wounds we can and seek to avoid inflicting further harm. That is healing of a kind, is it not? The Gondorian scribe heaves a sigh and looks up at you again, forcing a smile. From conversation with the Umbari have sketched the numbers of the original Kindred of the Coins, Beriathan. Umbar will remember both their fine qualities and their faults, neither excusing the other, and with these drawings, I hope to capture the balance. Choose one of your liking and it is yours. The others I will give to the city of Umbar Baharbêl, that it may remember its history and not forget it. Yeah, I think I'm gonna pick Belondor because he was born in Gondor after all. And as a light breeze passes over the sea, thus ends the Song of Waves and Wind. So... oh, we completed the deed. So we got the title Beriathan of the Waves and Wind. That is a really cool one, and I would love to get that for my Mariner eventually. We got Valor. We reached level 99? No, level 100. And also some XP towards loyalty. Let me check that really quick. Marathon of the Waves and Wind. Oh yeah. You venture from the coasts of Umbar into the white lines of Shagana, and the tale of your deeds was carried by the waves and borne upon the wind to distant ears. Alright, so now... let's just pick whatever, maybe wit. So yes, that is indeed the end of the Song of Waves and Wind. I'm not sure if I want to give you my thoughts on this story right now, or if I will wait until we finish the Fallen Palace and the Penchant of Dwarves, because that would lead us to the instances and the raid. So I'm gonna ponder on it, and I'll be back with you to either close the episode or give you my thoughts. But I just need some time to make up my mind. Alright, I'm back. So, yeah, I've been thinking about it. And, yeah, I do have some thoughts to say about the entirety of the Song of Waves and Wind now that we have finished it. And I took the time to think why it was so difficult for me to give a concept for this storyline. And I think part of the reason why is because this is a first time in many aspects. On one hand, this is the first time that I run the story with Beriathan first. So this is the first time I run blindly through the content with Beriathan. This is the first time I don't know what's coming. This is the first time I am being surprised with you on camera. And that, of course, means that there is a lot of first impressions involved in what we have experienced so far. Previously, on all other storylines, I had already run them once or even twice, so I knew what was coming, and knowing what was coming also allowed me to analyze how the storyline was being built, knowing where we're headed. But that didn't happen this time around. So that's one of the reasons why it was difficult for me to give my concept right after finishing the storyline. But also we have the fact that this is as well the first time that the storyline was not completed, because when we finished the Legacy of Durin and the Trial of the Dwarves, that story had already been finished by the time I recorded it. From chapter 1 to chapter 14, I believe it was already done. So I ran through it in a few months, really, and I had everything fresh on my mind by the time we had finished it. So it was really easy to remember how it had started, what it had done, what new ideas I had gotten after running it the second time. And that also helps in me giving these concepts. But this storyline started with update 36, which was like what, May 2023, and now we are in early 2026, almost 3 years after the first chapter, and so a lot of things have happened, and this longer span of time makes it harder to remember things. So these two different elements, I think, are the reason why I was having difficulties giving a full concept for it. So maybe what I'm about to say is not as elaborate as the concepts I've been giving before for all other main quests, but here we go. So I think the story started really strong with the idea of we will be going through Gondor. Going with Legolas and Gimli was a fantastic start. You would remember it. That was really exciting. And then dealing with the remnants of the years of Castamere and getting some teases of Umbar and the role they were gonna play in future releases, leading up to Nakasi and Tumuldo and Tumuldo's death, and the Song of Waves and Wind was teased at the end of chapter 1. This is not like the Black Book of Mordor, for example, where the actual Black Book only appears halfway through the storyline, and it makes you reconsider what has come before and where their story is headed as well. It's a full 180 on where things are going and on the expectations that you have. But this didn't really happen in here. We get a tease of the Song of Waves and Wind, and Nakasi says we're gonna destroy Gondor with this, and you have no idea what she's talking about. And as I mentioned on previous episodes, at first I thought this was gonna be some sort of sorcery, black magic of some kind. I mean, it sounded really ominous, and so yeah, I thought there was gonna be a more magical explanation as to what that was and what was the power that would destroy Gondor. That was a really strong start. Then on top of that, we discovered that there is someone infiltrated in Aragorn's circle, and that also makes you suspect of everybody. And as I said, I think the game did a pretty good job of making you forget about all that, because by the time we were in Outer Gondor, in Peanut Gellin, I had already forgotten about it. I don't know how I was able to remember that as soon as we returned to Harlond. But they were also playing with that. They usually like to play with a lot of different elements and start to weave them as the story advances, and also planting ideas for future storylines and doing callbacks. So it's a really intricate narrative that we have in here that we always have had in the game. So the return of Corudan was also a fantastic element of the storyline. I enjoyed, for the most part, revisiting old areas of Gondor, because you get to see them how they are doing after the war. And there is a bias, of course, but you are also able to see Gondor's beauty outside the Dauntless Days, so there was some appeal for me in that regard as well. But we also got to visit some areas of Gondor that were truly new, like Amphalas and Peanut Gellin, before sailing on to Umbar with Corudan and with Sigileth and with lots of characters that we had met before, and that suddenly become much more important for this storyline. And I always wonder how much of this is already planned ahead, and how much of this is, okay, we're gonna tell the storyline, which characters do we need to tell the storyline, and okay, maybe we can take these ones that we have already worked on previously, like they could work in here with what we are trying to do, what we are aiming to do. So I always have this doubt as to how much of this has been pre-planned and how much of this is just the building on what they already have. But nonetheless, visiting these old areas, visiting old friends, the return of Corudan on top of that, well, that we only met Corudan a little bit later, but then gathering our crew and sailing towards Umbar, that was entirely new territory, something that they were really off the leash on that one, because what we know of Umbar from the books is it's really not much. So they had the liberty of doing whatever they wanted, basically. And for the most part, that was they did. That was a risk in a way, going to places and to cultures that they really didn't have much to work with. the books, and it was totally foreign for us. And I also think I have mentioned this before, but I cherish what I did with this, but maybe part of the reason why I have not connected with this as much as some other storylines is because the fact that this is entirely new, and with the previous storylines there were familiar connections to make. During the Shadows of Angmar, there were lots of callbacks to the lore, to the story of the Second Age, of the Third Age. Same thing with Moria. On Volume 3 and Volume 4, we were deep into the War of the Ring, so that was lots of things pulled out from the book. The Black Book of Mordor was a lot of new things they had come up with, but at the same time, a lot of things that were already there and tying it up with things that were part of the lore, like Isildur. And the same thing happened with the Legacy of Durin. It was like half-half new things and tying this up with existing things. But with the Song of Waves and Wind and Umbar and beyond, that proportion gets changed. We get a lot more of new stuff and their own lore and their own storylines, and not so much the ties and the callbacks to the established lore. And maybe we also spend too much time with it. I'm not sure yet, but I mean, has been almost 3 years of this, so of course going back to the Northern Lands and to the places and maybe characters that we already know, it's gonna be, yeah, it's gonna be like coming back home. This was a bit of fresh air, but there is only so much that you can take before you start yearning for what you already know. So that, I think, also played a big part. But right as you start exploring these new places, the Shield Isles was so different from anything that we had already seen, and the fact that you have your own crew and you are also helping your crew as you move along, and then going to Umbar, and the city of Umbar was a really fun place to explore. It's always a gamble when they build these huge spaces where you spend a huge chunk of time in, and how to make one single space feel alive and feel varied, like with Minas Tirith and with Minas Morgul. And I think they did a pretty good job with Umbar Baharbêl and exploring the city and getting to know the city. At the first time you come into the city, it's overwhelming how big it is, but then you slowly learn to move around the city, you learn where everything is, and then it feels so natural. They did a great job building that space, and I also enjoyed that very much. The fact that we also got Horn, I almost forgot about Horn, but we got Horn and Corudan back. Both characters that had disappeared from the game for a long time, and then returning to them, it was very unexpected, but it was also very satisfying to see how Horn's storyline ended. Well, Horn is alive, of course, and going back to Nona, what had happened with Nona, with her child, Corudan and Sigileth also closing the loose ends that we had with Corudan and opening new possibilities for both Corudan and Sigileth was great. All the thing about Nimrodel, the reveal about Nimrodel was fantastic, and I think she was used very effectively in what little part she played here in Umbar. The Kindred of the Coins, those are some villains that you love to hate, but then the game pulls another 180 and makes you ally with them and understand their motivations and where they're going for, and then suddenly consider them your allies. And then the game pulls another 180 when you realize, well, they were playing with you. Most of them were playing with you, and some of them are not what you imagined at first. So it's an ever-changing allegiances, and that I also enjoyed very much because it made the characters feel alive. They were their own characters and not just an excuse to move the plot forward. They had their own agendas, and you were just getting involved in their life. But now your part on them on all this is over, and they will continue on with their lives. They really feel like rounded up characters for the most part. But I mean, Belondor again, Rothog, Tatháta, characters that you love to hate, but then something happens and you end up being allied with them and getting to know them, and okay, we can set aside our differences because we also have a common goal, and we can work towards that common goal, and in doing so you start to consider them your friends. Khôltekh I never trusted. Hármelak, she won me over until the time like where she said, well, you no longer serve my purpose, so long. And yeah, we gotta get back to Khôltekh and Hármelak at some point, hopefully not 10 years, but hopefully really soon. The only portion of the Kindred that I thought was disappointing was the way they decided to handle Azagath, because I still think they should have integrated the Rite of Utukbur into the storyline somehow, like, I don't know, an interlude, something that would close the storyline for solo players as well. I didn't get the chance to play Utukbur. I only saw a stream, so I already knew Azagath was defeated inside the raid, and that is really anticlimactic because Azagath had been your villain for more than a year, and then suddenly for him to be taken care of off camera, basically, because none of this is part of the Song of Waves and Wind, that was super weird. And I'm glad to see that at least with the rating here, the Folly of Nagakeri that we'll get to in just a moment, they are sort of correcting course with it, because there is a storyline that needs to be told in full, and leaving that, like, just closing it off somewhere else doesn't sit right with me. So that was something disappointing about Azagath and what they did with the raid. But we got some amazing lore with the Tarduth, with Yutugi, the participation of Gandalf, Mithrandir in Canush, Glorfindel also coming back, and the Yutugi and the Tarduth are not done. They might have been defeated at Utukbur. We might even defeat them in Mûr Ghala, but God knows how many other Tarduth fortresses are there, how many more Utugis are out there. So I think they will keep popping up back and back and back. This is some sort of a recurring enemy that you can use when you really want to raise the stakes. So yeah, I expect we will be seeing way more Tarduth and Utugi as time goes on, and like, surprise, they are also present in here. I got sort of spoiled on the end boss of the Folly of Nagakeri. That's gonna be another Balrog, and I think the Tarduth are gonna feel a similar role to what they have been doing with Balrogs since day one, because we had Taurlach in the Rift, and then we got Durin's Bane, and now we also got this new other one in Mûr Ghala, and I think the Tarduth now can fill that role even better than the Balrogs, because there's so many Balrogs that you can use before you start wondering how many Balrogs then are there left, because they were supposed to be defeated with Morgoth. And the Tarduth again feel a similar role in the way that they are creations of Morgoth, but since they are a new creation and you are not bound by the books, you can use them more freely, and I think they are a pretty powerful enemy nonetheless that can reappear in many other places. So yeah, I don't think we have seen the last of the Tarduth. And then well, all this expansion, and not only this expansion, but the entire Song of Waves and Wind, exploring new cultures, Rothog and the Hamati, and all these different factions vying for the land. Like I said, they really went full gear with everything they could do on this expansion, and like maybe they were saying, well, this is our one chance of doing something entirely ours, because what we have to work with from the book is really not that much, so we can make these ours, and we're gonna make this chance count, because we don't know when, if ever, we will get another chance of doing so. Maybe going to Cant and Rune, but they've been teasing Cant and Rune for a long time, and we still have not gotten there, and I think it's gonna be a couple years before we can go to Cant and Rune. So yeah, they were making the most out of this one chance of showing how much they can add to the world of Middle Earth. And yeah, I mean, again, you have Umbar, and you have Ikorban, and you have Mûr Ghala, which is only near Harad, by the way. We still have to fully go into Harad, but we're going back north anyways. So there's still a lot of room to explore in this, even though they really did a lot of things in here, but there's so much that can still be done. We also have Cúridwan and the Wizards of the South. We only know Cúridwan, and I seem to remember Made of Lions made a comment on Discord about this, like, yeah, there is one other wizard that has been mentioned, that Cúridwan mentioned in the instance back at Sulmadash, like, we are saving some things for later, because we are not putting everything in the oven. There are things that are worth saving for later. So yeah, there's still potential, and I'm really curious to see where they go with that idea of having more wizards. As I said on that episode, from the get-go, I'm not opposed to the idea. I think it's justified enough why those wizards are only appearing until now. And if they are able to do something interesting with them, I am all up for it. So we need to, as usual, give them the benefit of the doubt and let them just do their thing, because they can deliver. They have proved time and time again they can deliver. They can stay true to Tolkien's spirit and still do new things. And that's what I liked especially about this last few moments of the Song of Waves and Wind, the way that they handled Nakasi and Silirtas, and how they worked with this idea of death and of loss, and moving on towards a new adventure. That was fantastic. I loved it. Might even be my favorite part of the entire thing, the epilogue, and saying goodbye to Nakasi, even though she was our enemy. Saying goodbye to Silirtas with the hope, not the certainty, just the hope that you will meet her again in the Undying Lands. That was, both of those were beautiful pieces of character development, pieces of dialogue. I enjoy that so much that alone might make the storyline worth it. How you are able to do so much with so little, because we're just 2 quests on an epilogue, closing Nakasi and Silirtas, but that still felt so much Tolkien for me. And I am remembered of one of those letters where Tolkien said, Lord of the Rings is a story about death, but all human stories are, in a way, stories about death. So this is the same. It's talking about death, and it's talking about sacrifice, and it's talking about hope. And this would be released after Tolkien Reading Day, but I've been thinking about this year's theme of Tolkien Reading Day, which is Unlikely Heroes. I don't have a lot to say about Unlikely Heroes, other than the fact that this idea of the unlikely hero is important, because we need to go back to the concept of the eucatastrophe and the unexpected turn for good and hope in spite of unsurmountable odds, and for me that's what the epilogue was doing, because the ultimate unsurmountable odd is death. It's something that you cannot overcome, but even in death we have a turn for good, we have hope, and boy, they pulled it off in just 2 quests. That's unbelievable. So for all their shortcomings, and I think this storyline had plenty of them, but maybe it was just the fact that we were experiencing the story in chunks instead of doing it in full. But for all its shortcomings, the game, the Song of Waves and Wind, was still able to say something that mattered, something meaningful beyond new enemies and new places. There was something more important than doing something new, and it was going to something that had already been said but needs to be said time and time again, that there is loss, but there is also beauty, and there is also hope, and those are things worth fighting for, no matter which side of the balance you are standing on. And that's what allowed us to ally ourselves with what we thought at first were our enemies. That's what allowed us to side with Belondor and with Rothog and with Tatháta, and that's, we have something worth fighting for, and it's the same thing worth fighting for: life, freedom, and camaraderie, and hope for the future. So I don't know, maybe I can keep rambling about it if I want, but in the end, that's what Tolkien is about. And as long as you can keep using those themes, staying true to those themes, and highlighting the importance of those themes, you will be alright. The LOTRO team has proven time and time again they understand, and they always find ways of using those themes in new ways. I really didn't expect that ending on the epilogue with Nakasi and Silirtas, and for me that was mind-blowing what they did with that. Again, doing so much with so little. My hat off for the LOTRO team just for that. So yeah, I initially was thinking maybe I didn't like this one as much as the previous ones, but the ending totally redeems the shortcomings of the storyline, if there are any. I know there are a few forum posts discussing the ending to this storyline and how players perceived it. I have not read those posts, so this is my unfiltered opinion. Again, the ending was amazing, and there were many things that really worked on this storyline. Some others that maybe could have been improved. So not my favorite, but still did a lot of right things. And that ending, that ending on itself can hold its own against some of the other endings that we have met before. It reminds me a lot of the ending of the Black Book of Mordor in a way, which is a bittersweet ending full of loss that hits really hard, but also gives you this warm feeling like, oh, well, that was beautiful, but we lost so much, but in the end everything is gonna be okay. So it was a catastrophe. Very well done. They pulled it off once again with this one. This was also a really another first that we have found on this expansion, is the fact that we are still not done with the expansion, even though this is the end of the main storyline. You can argue that this could be the end of it, because what we are missing are just the quest lines that will eventually lead you to the instances. And all these that we are missing could have been released with update 47 or 46 point something. I mean, the expansion could have been released without this questline for the Fallen Palace and for the caves and for the Fallen Lagakeri, and it will still work. So in the end, in a way, this is the end, even though we are technically not done. But we still need to go back to Mûr Ghala and complete all this, especially the palace, because update 48 is going to end Misadi's storyline. So one way or another, we need to go back there, finish what we have not done to be ready to continue with the new things. And after update 48, at some point we will be going back north, and let us see what they have in store for us. Are they gonna expand on Eriador, connecting areas that we still have not done, like connecting Forohel and Angmar, or Miniriath? Like, there's still plenty of stuff to explore in what we already know. And afterwards, God knows where we're headed next. But once again, I think the LOTRO's team still has got it in the way that they are handling Tolkien's themes, and what makes all these stories resonate with us, what makes them really make an impact at heart. Yeah, I love the epilogue. I really love the epilogue, and it made everything else worth it, because it was a great way of closing things up and saying something meaningful in just a few lines. I don't know, maybe going through the Song of Waves and Wind with another character and being able to do it from chapter 1 to chapter 18 and the epilogue continuously will change my perception of this. But that will have to wait, because I think I will do that with my Mariner eventually. And maybe I'll go back with you and tell you if my opinion of the Song of Waves and Wind has changed or not. But for the time being, that is what I have to say about that storyline. That will be it for today's episode. Join me next time as we go back to Mûr Ghala and finish what we have still left to do. But for the time being, this has been all. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you on the next one. Until then, my friends, stay safe, take care, good luck to you all, and I will see you later.